Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Brandon. Welcome back. We are here for my first full YouTube review of 2024. As I always say, I apologize for my hiatus between videos because my last video was my reaction to the Oscar nominations being announced, and that was a month ago now. But it's been a busy month, and at the time of this video, I got my wisdom teeth taken out a week ago, so I've been kind of recovering since then. But in today's review, I just had to give my thoughts on a movie that has become kind of a cultural phenomenon over the last week or two. Madam Web. Madam Web is the latest Marvel movie to be put out by Sony in their Sony-verse, I guess. And in this movie, we follow Dakota Johnson's character, Cassandra Webb, who must stop Ezekiel Sims, a man who worked with her mother, from murdering 3 teenage girls who are somehow connected. Now, ever since the first trailer for this movie was released a few months ago, Madam Web has garnered a lot of attention. And a lot of it stemmed from that very infamous line that was spoken in the first trailer.
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
Yeah, that line. It became a huge meme and it made everybody laugh because, one, it's totally a run-on sentence and it's just a total exposition dump. Even though Dakota Johnson herself doesn't seem to understand why people found that line to be so funny. And since this movie got released, it has been getting trashed online. And I knew, and several other people knew right from the beginning, that this movie was gonna be bad. I mean, it was obvious. But like I always do, when I think a movie looks bad, I at least go into it hoping I might be pleasantly surprised, because that's possible. But also, if it's so bad, at least make it so bad that it's entertaining. But that was too much to ask, because Madam Web is without question the worst movie of 2024 so far. And we're only in February. If anything tops this movie, I'll be shocked. And if it isn't topped, then that'll be 2 years in a row that I watched the worst movie of the year in February. Because I saw Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey in February last year, and that movie held my top spot for worst movie of the year throughout all of 2023. But Madam Web is truly one of the messiest, incoherent, and most boring superhero movies that I have ever watched. This script is just a complete clusterfuck. Because there are so many things that are happening, but they're never fully explained. I think the movie just kind of expects the audience to go along with it and just accept it. Because like I said in the plot synopsis, all 3 of these girls are somehow connected to Cassandra, but it's never explained why they're connected to her or why they're connected to each other. Because one of the girls is just a resident of the building that Cassandra also lives in. Another one had her mom saved by Cassandra because she's a paramedic. And the third one almost got run over by Cassandra when she was driving an ambulance. So there's no real deeper connection between any of them to her. It just all seemed very random and serendipitous. And as I also mentioned in the plot synopsis, the reason that Cassandra is with these girls is because she needs to protect them from a guy named Ezekiel Sims. And Ezekiel Sims is this movie's main antagonist, and he's having dreams that these 3 girls are going to kill him at some point in the future. But we never find out why the girls are going to kill him. It's never explained once. But there's this one scene that's so hilarious just because of how much of a cop-out it is. Ezekiel's assistant or secretary is on a computer and she says something like, "I've sharpened the images from your dreams so we can use that to see what the girls who are going to kill you look like." So this man is having premonitory visions in his dreams, and he is somehow able to transfer those images from his mind into a computer. But even if a script is just really bad, it can sometimes be elevated by great performances. That isn't the case here. There is not a single performance in Madam Web that I would say is good. Everybody here is either just really bad or seem like they're completely phoning it in. The line delivery is so wooden from just about every single actor. They enunciate words and sentences, and it feels like they enunciated the wrong word. And if a movie has not one single good performance, then I'm sorry, but that's kind of on the director in this case, because yeah, this movie is also very horribly directed. But on top of that, all of the characters are just completely empty. We only know like a handful of info about each of them. The only one with any real kind of depth is Cassandra, Madam Web herself. The three Spider Girls, like, you know nothing about them other than the fact that their families basically abandoned them. And that's really it. But the biggest culprit of this is the villain Ezekiel Sims himself. This guy is one of the worst superhero villains ever. And that's saying something because we just got Darman in the Marvels last year. But this guy is just completely non-threatening. Every time he spoke, it was so hard to take him seriously. But the biggest reason it was so hard to take him seriously when he spoke was because his dialogue did not match his lips. The ADR is just so unbelievably terrible. And you could also tell in certain moments that his lines were just completely re-recorded in a studio, but they don't match the actions that he's doing. Because there's one scene where he's in his full spider garb and he's running like on the side of a building and his secretary is giving him instructions. He's legitimately talking like this. Yes, I am after the girls. Right now, I am going to get them. They will die tonight. There's no real enthusiasm or any kind of inflection in his voice. Like, because he's running on the side of a building. He should sound like he's running. He should sound like he's out of breath. And aside from the acting, directing, and script, just from a technical standpoint as a whole, this movie is so bad. For starters, the cinematography is just so unbelievably ugly, and there are quite a few moments that are shot like an episode of The Office. You know, when the camera's kind of moving because it's handheld and they slightly zoom in on characters' faces? Yes, there are legitimate scenes in a comic book movie that are shot like that. The editing is also just as equally terrible, because there are some times where it's so jumbled that you can't tell what's happening. It almost comes off like a Michael Bay movie. And this movie also has no sense of the passage of time, because you truly don't know how long it's been since a certain event happened. It could be hours, it could be days, it could have been a week for all you know. Without getting into spoilers, there's a scene where Cassandra goes to a foreign country because she needs to find out the truth about her mom or something. And I think she says she's gonna be gone for a week, but in the movie, she's only there for about 10 minutes, and then she comes back, but it's implied that she's been gone for about a week. And it never felt like that. It felt like she was gone for a few minutes. This movie is also very unintentionally hilarious. There are so many moments that you could tell were meant to be serious, but they were just so funny in their execution. One scene involving an ambulance driving away and then a truck T-bones it, I laughed out loud. But I think my biggest problem is that it felt like there were never any stakes to this movie. Like, what happens if the villain wins? Just 3 teenage girls who we know nothing about and as a result we don't care about end up dying? Like, okay, whoop-de-doo, who cares? Because it's never revealed if this Ezekiel Sims guy has some sort of bigger, overarching, sinister plan. He just wants to kill 3 girls. Like, there's nothing more to it. He doesn't want to blow up the city. He doesn't want to enslave people. He doesn't want to, like, I don't know, cause a second ice age, bring down a meteor shower onto Earth. None of that. And as generic as those things are that I just named, they were a lot better than this. But since this is a comic book movie, you would obviously expect there to be a lot of action, right? Well, that's where you're wrong in the case of Madam Web, because I'm not kidding you, there's no action in this movie. I cannot recall any action sequences. The only kind of somewhat action sequence that we get is Ezekiel's premonition of the girls killing him, where you see all 3 of the girls in their Spider-Girl costumes. And that's the only time you ever see them in their suits, is through visions of the past or the future. They never gain them in reality or in the present. They never even gain powers in the present. So as a result, it just felt like there was no intensity, there was no climax, and there was no proper resolution. And the last thing I'm gonna mention is this movie tries to keep you on the edge of your seat in certain parts for no real reason. Because there is a character played by Adam Scott, and Adam Scott plays Ben Parker. And if you're a fan of Spider-Man, like me and a lot of other people, you will know that Ben Parker is Uncle Ben. And there's one scene where he's telling Cassandra about this new girl that he's dating and how he thinks that she might be the one. And Cassandra's like, ooh, tell me more. What's her name? And, you know, if you have a brain, you're sitting there thinking like, oh, he's obviously talking about May, right? But he just sits there kind of smiling and like looking down like, I don't want to tell you. I'm too embarrassed. Like, dude, just spit it out. We know who you're talking about. And also Ben's sister, who for whatever reason is played by Emma Roberts in this movie, is pregnant. And I think you can put 2 and 2 together of who that baby is. But this baby's name is never spoken on screen once, and I just didn't understand that. It felt like the filmmakers were really trying to tease you, like, oh, who's this? Do you know who this is? You should know who this is. Like, yeah, we obviously know who it's supposed to be. And I also just need to point out there's a scene where they're having a baby shower for Emma Roberts, and they're playing a game where they need to guess the baby's name, but there's no, like, hints or really anything. They're just going around the room and these girls are just guessing different baby names. Like, oh my God. Oh my, yeah, but this movie, it's a joke, man. It's honestly kind of insane just how bad this movie is. I can see why Dakota Johnson does not have any ounce of motivation to promote this thing. It seems like she just wants to die on this press tour that she's on. A lot of people have said Madam Web is the worst superhero movie of all time. I don't know if I'm going to go that far yet, but it's definitely up there. I think this movie is worse than Morbius. It's worse than Venom Let There Be Carnage. And hell, if you saw my reviews last year, it's worse than The Marvels, and it's worse than The Flash. But yeah, this movie is just utter, complete shit. It's a dumpster fire, it's poo-poo, it's doo-doo, it's caca. It's only redeemed by some funny moments here and there, and overall, I would give Madam Web a 1 out of 10. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching my review of Madam Web. If you guys saw this movie, let me know what you thought about it. How much did you hate it? Because I refuse to believe that there is someone in the world that legitimately thinks this movie is good. If you guys like this review, be sure to hit that thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. If you want to see my previous reviews from some movies from the end of last year, I will link those right over here. Other than that, hope you all have a tremendous rest of your day. I will see you all next time.
What do